evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here to the Flatout Racing Network's coverage of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series playoff race number 5, the first race in the battle for the Final Four here tonight at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway alongside of Michael Norman. And Michael, this is what's basically going to set the stage for next week. We talked with a couple of the playoff drivers last week that were moving on into this four-way battle, and they said a lot of emphasis on tonight because you want to go into that final race of the season on the defense rather than the offense having to make up points that you may lose here tonight. So for some drivers, maybe the mentality of a must-win. For other drivers, the mentality of just get as many points as you possibly can. But all four of them with the goal, do not DNF, do not have a bad finish here tonight, because next week you don't want to have to dig yourself out of a hole.
Absolutely, you don't want to have to do that. It's so hard to do that here, especially when everyone in the top four, such talented super speedway style drivers. So making up points is not going to be an easy task. So
absolutely.
So going into the final race on the defense would probably be your best bet compared to the offense.
3 drivers that have formerly won championships here in the Tally Challenge. 1 driver that's won just about everything else when it comes to RTG, but this one championship has eluded him. And those 4 drivers, we'll talk about them during the course of this race, and we'll also be talking about who they are as we take you through your starting lineup. Mark Paglia lining up on the pole position alongside of Terry Bombard. Cy Jones going to be in the inside of row number 2. He'll be alongside of Joe DeSpirito. Donnie Garrett shares row 3 with Craig Hagley. Richard Martin's back in row 4 with the highest starting of our final 4. That's Jeremy Jeffries, who will roll off the grid in P8. David Cannon and Glenn Harris, they're going to complete the top 10. JT Mayhew and Robbie Nices, they're back in row 6. Row 7, Jeff Crivello and the season opener winner, Chuck McClure. Row 8's going to find Ken Roberts and Josh Metallic. Row 9, Dave Melson, Jessica Shelton. The top 20 will be completed by Brian Rawson and Tim Knopsker. Back in row 11, it's Wiley Coate and another of our final 4 competitors, that is Bob Seminara. Bernie Mobbs, he's back in row 12 with Rodney Sullins. Bob Dixon, he's going to be sharing row 13 with another of our final 4. That's Brian Schilling, going to be rolling off from the 26th position. Grant Wesley, the last of the final 4 drivers, defending champion of the series and last week's winner. He's going to roll off the grid from 27th. 28th will be Milt Surratt. 30th place, make that 29th rather, will be Greg Palmer. 30th place, Kelly Causey. And Sean Prime, good to see him back in the field tonight. He will roll off in the 31st position. It's Seminara versus Schilling versus Wesley versus Jeffries to start here tonight in the final 4. 2-race season finale final round. Best accumulated amount of points in those 2 races wins the championship. And Michael, it's time to turn them loose and see who's going to fire the first shot, if you will, of those 4 competitors.
Yep, green flag is out. Not a lot of space to work with, and already are caution.
They were checked up in the middle of the pack. Metallic, McClure, Shelton around, and no caution.
Nope, no yellow because it happened below the racing surface.
Tim Knopsker was the other one in that. 4 trucks low. Somebody did not get going, and it stacked them up there around, I think that was the 15th, 16th position. But most of the trucks that spun down below that yellow line off the racing surface, so we stay green as Joe DeSpirito takes the outside line against Mark Paglia.
Robbie Nices did not get going. I don't know, maybe he missed a gear?
Nices rolled off the grid from...
He just suddenly slowed down.
I believe it was 13th place. So that was pretty close up near the top 10 as DeSpirito going to lead the first lap of the evening here at Burnt Raceway. And for folks that will remember, last season, this was the venue where everything took place. The regular season finale, every single one of the elimination races, and eventually the overall season finale where the championship was decided. When we added on that extra regular season race this season, Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway became the place that kind of set the table for the elimination races at Talladega we're going to next week. So BSR had basically the deciding factor in the championship last year. Talladega gets it this year.
Yep, that could be a big difference here too. These tracks look similar, but race completely different.
Indeed, absolutely, and we've heard that from drivers, and we've gotten it from firsthand experience as well. Inside line, maybe a little bit more prominent here at BSR than it is at Talladega, which is more middle line oriented. It kind of seems too like third line is able to be generated a lot easier at Talladega than it is here at BSR. I mean, you go back a couple of weeks ago when we were here, we saw them double wide, three wide in the early stages, and then it was like somebody flipped a switch, and all of a sudden, the second and third groove started falling back, and visibly, there wasn't anything that kind of led to an indication of what stalled out the momentum. So, to your point, two entirely different racetracks in terms of what you are able to do, and that's a good thing. Adds a little bit of variety to drivers, their approach to each one of these races, not kind of the same old week after week, even though the visuals of the tracks change.
Well said. Something we're not used to seeing usually at this early on in the race is the different packs. There's only 16 trucks in this first initial pack here before you go back to the 31 of Bernie and Mobs back here, and this is just a 5-car pack here, trying to run single file, running these to try to run this first group down because of the accident. Then we have another 5-car pack right behind them, being led by Greg Palmer, and then it's just all about single file racing now. And unfortunately for those that are caught up in this last pack here, such as Shelton, McClure, Metallic, and Nofsker, they're going to need a caution to get back up here.
Absolutely are. Last time by, they were about 17.5 seconds off the lead. As of right now, they'd be running about, two-thirds of a racetrack ahead of race leader Joe DeSpirito. So still got some time to work with for that caution to come out, but I think they would prefer to have the yellow sooner rather than later. Another thing, we talked about the fact at the top that 3 of the 4 drivers in this Final Four, all former champions. Grant Wesley, defending champion. Brian Schilling's last championship 2 seasons ago. And Bob Seminaire, his last championship was back in season 49. Jeremy Jeffries is the lone driver of our remaining championship competitors that has not won the championship. Well, he lucked out in 2 ways here, at least in the early going. Number 1, via random qualifying, he rolled off the grid from 8th. The furthest back behind him competitor was Bob Seminara, who was 23rd. So none of the other 3 competitors even started the race inside the top 20. And then that stack up that took place, that was around 13th on back. It was ahead of Jeremy Jeffries. So he is the only one of the Final Four, as things stand right now, up in this lead group. Next closest would, I believe, be Grant Wesley, who's back in 19th place in that second pack.
Seth, this could very well be my last broadcast once I say this comment, because I know she'll probably kill me. Imagine that this is the race that goes caution-free.
It's possible. I think we've had one race this season that did go caution-free. Trying to remember which race it was. The last time... No, I was going to say the last time these drivers were here at BSR, but actually it was 3 weeks ago at Talladega. These drivers ended up making it to the first round of green flag pit stops. I think they actually made it to around lap 35-36 before the first caution came out. And with the small pack that we've got up here, at least at the front, the likelihood of a caution coming out kind of slim to none, because I think they're all realizing the situation of, if we just mind our P's and Q's, stay in an orderly fashion here, single file, maybe a little double wide, we can keep this gap all the way back to 17th place, and to your point, maybe have this thing go caution-free, and everybody up in this lead pack would be the ones that would be in the conversation maybe for that checkered flag, provided they could hit the execution and green flag pit stops.
Absolutely.
Checking real quickly here, this last lap around,
if we keep talking about a caution, maybe it'll happen.
Well, I just noticed we may have an addition to our lead pack, because that group of 5, you can see them there right side of your screen, just exiting out of turn 2, being led by Bernie Mobs. The leader last time by ran a 48.282. Bernie Mobs, leading that second pack, ran 0.3 of a second quicker at a 47.9. So that group of 5, that single file group of 5, they are closing in on the top 17, or top 16 rather. So we're about to have ourselves a group of about 21 trucks here in this lead pack. And it's going to happen maybe in the next 2 or 3 laps, because I think Bernie Mobbs may have just caught a little whiff of draft off that last truck, which is Glenn Harris.
Yeah, they're about to get the draft off. Because they're racing 3 wide here up here in this front pack. You know, it's a little early for that. I would definitely be wanting to run like either close to single file or at least double wide for the moment, because you don't really want anything to happen right now that could bring all those contenders back up into the mix.
Well, what you've got for that second pack is kind of the ideal number of trucks for single file racing. You and I both know it is very difficult to run single file when you've got a group of 10, 12, 15 trucks, because that third, fourth, fifth truck in line all the way back to the tail end of the group has to be aware of checkup, which usually happens going into the corner. So that can end up causing some problems and potentially bringing out a yellow. So with what we're seeing right here up in this lead pack, you can see some pretty good space being given between the front bumper of the 10 of Bombard and the back bumper of the 24 of Despirito. Drivers making sure that they don't get too close, get too much of a run going into the corner and cause that dreaded stack up. And you just touched on it. That group of 5, they've caught up now to the lead pack. So 21 drivers back to, I believe, Milt Surratt have caught this lead group. Maybe even Robbie Knights is there, might be able to latch on as he's about 3 car lengths back.
Johnny Garrett's to the inside there. Not sure if he had a little help with that. You know, I'm going to bring up something real quick. So we know that possible misgear or something on the restart for I believe that is the 56. Back here at the very tail end in that Navy Toyota. 54, close. If you deem the reason for those cars wrecking, even if it didn't bring out a yellow, wouldn't you still have to serve a penalty?
Good question. Possibly.
Oh, okay.
Because to your point, we have had in the past where a driver may get into somebody off turn 2 or off turn 4, spin them down to the apron. It may not bring out a caution, but they have to serve a pass-through. So it is a valid question, that is for sure, but
Did
at
you
least
see
at this point in
NR
time,
gap whack on your end, or was that just me?
I think it was you.
Okay, that's a little weird, but okay.
Jeremy Jeffries taking advantage here of the fact that he had that good qualifying spot. Richard Martin and Mark Paglia helping him on the inside line. They've got him up to 5th. Jeffries was kind of riding around the 10th, 11th position. I think he's turned up the wick because one of the drivers that was in that pack of 5 that's now caught up to the tail end of this group is Grant Wesley, one of his championship competitors. So now he doesn't have that little cushion back to a championship battle. He has to start moving his way to the front, because we know for certain the 88's going to try and fight his way to the front as soon as he can. I mentioned the fact that Jeremy Jeffries has been the one championship that has eluded him. Saw him debuting the new livery, Busch Beer Light, on his #1 Chevrolet last week.
Wonder why I couldn't see that car.
Yep, that would be why. Busch Beer was formerly a sponsor of Brian Schilling, but now moving over to Jeremy Jeffries, not just for this series, but for other series as well. Saw him debut a similar scheme in the Barebones race a week from last Monday at Rockingham. So looks like
because you were in that race.
That's right. So it looks like that's a primary sponsor of his across the board. And as I was going to say, mention the fact that this is the one championship that has eluded him. He has won a championship in just about every other series on every other night under the RTG banner, including Barebones Series, the Aero 88 Series. I believe it was the Winston Cup Series back in the a few months ago on Tuesday nights.
Not too
Don't
sure.
know if he's in. I don't know if he's in the running right now for the Super Speedway Series championship that runs on Tuesday nights. I think Rodney Sullivan is currently leading the points in that one.
I just noticed this, and just barely within the same camera shot is that second group of 5 trucks. The 5th place was last lap was a 48.3. Back here,
48.0.
Oh, yeah, so they're running slightly faster.
Another 0.3 faster, kind of like what we saw with that then first pack of 5. And look who's in this group. Ryan Schilling in the 4, Bob Seminara in the 712. So if they keep this pace up, they have all 4 of our championship competitors up here in this lead pack. And there's some fast trucks here too. Rodney Sullins, second truck in line, was in the final 4 in the previous 2 seasons, came up just short this year. Greg Palmer, former playoff contender, ended up winning the first playoff race, as a matter of fact, to lock himself into what was the round of 8. And Kelly Causey there in the 00, two-time winner on the season, former playoff contender as well, got eliminated. I believe it was it last week? No, it was prior to the round of 8. Did not advance, but drivers that have found success here this season, and a few drivers that have found victory lane here this season as well. As last time by, Greg Palmer ran his fastest lap of the race, 47.966. Compare that to the 48.4 ran by the front runners of that lead pack. So what do you think? Give it 2-3 laps and we're going to have ourselves an even bigger pack up here at the front.
Yep, very soon too, but then that's just going to leave that one pack of cars at the tail end of 4 cars back here. These cars are running considerably slower than the leaders at a 48.3. Well, no, not really. They're maybe a 10th faster, but compared to Despirito. But now we're going to have battling all over, so now it completely ups the percentage of a possible caution coming out.
Yeah, Despirito saw that inside line coming on the back straightaway, moved down, throw the block, stalled the advance of Jeremy Jeffries. Almost had a challenge there into 3 by Terry Bombard, who had a good push from Cy Jones, but now Despirito firmly in control, swapping the lanes, kind of determining which line gets the momentum. And bear in mind, we ended up having 31 drivers take the green flag here tonight. Actually, correction, 30 drivers take the green flag here tonight. I believe Sean Prime was on the grid but did not make the start. The odds are in favor of one of our final 4 drivers not taking the checkered flag here tonight. And even if, whoa! Jeffries have gotten a little errant bump from Richard Martin down below the yellow line. I don't think he was trying to make a pass on Despirito. I think he got maybe an uneven bump from the 43.
He might have got a bump at a bad time, and oh, here comes stuff. Was that the 143 coming to pit road?
That's Bob Dixon hitting pit road. Just a couple laps shy from when these drivers will have to make the first round of green flag pit stops. Kind of a typical Bob Dixon play there.
Coming down all by himself, though.
Yeah, it comes down to clean pit road, though, and doesn't have to worry about anybody else's braking zone on entry to pit lane. But, here tonight, odds are not in favor of one of our final 4 going to victory lane. They've got a lot more to lose than the other 26 drivers, so they have to kind of bear that in mind in the closing stages if they're in the conversation for the win.
The radio's lighting up. We might be seeing some cars come down, some trucks come down this time.
You'd have to think Spirito would be one of them. He's led 17 of the 18 laps so far, and yeah, he's got a lot coming down with him. Whoa, Milt Surratt back there, top of your screen, just hit the inside wall.
And he's going to keep it below the yellow line.
No caution.
Milt Surratt full way around, yep, but he's down below.
Bob Seminara was in with this group. Grant Wesley as well. Like Brian Schilling may have stayed out. Yeah, so 3 of our final 4 drivers came to pit road that lap. Schilling stays out an extra one, as did quite a number of the Dodges. I saw Crivello and Wiley Coate also stayed out in those Dodge Rams.
All down to the insides, but these trucks are the ones coming down pit road this time. Better watch out. No black flags.
To your point, if this race does run green to the end, you get a black flag on pit road, there's really no chance you're going to be able to mount a comeback of track position. Lost is really speedy in there was Dave Cannon in the 3. If he got woed down in time, Rodney Sullins, Kelly Causey, JT Mayhew, Coate, Rawson, Jones all in this group.
Schilling overshot his pit stop.
Uh-oh, that's not good. That's one of our final 4 drivers. In service now, here's Nofsker and Metallic and Shelton, who, along with McClure, who were in that stack-up at the initial start of the race. No caution came out for them, and they've been trying to play catch-up ever since.
They must be just happy to see other trucks.
Right? Joe Despirito and Jeremy Jeffries right now look like they could be in line to cycle out to the race lead. It all depends on where that second group reemerges from pit road. Like Terry Bombard might be the only one that they'd have to worry about. I don't know if he'll even be up to speed. He's now merging onto the racetrack. I don't think it's going to be any contest. 24 and 1 are going to blow his doors off of turn 2. But Espirito will go back to the point. Jeffries will move into second. Donnie Garrett, he'll get
That's-
third.
Seth, you're a master. I want to run a strategy around by you and tell me what you think.
Okay, go for it.
If you were one of the back four drivers,
Yep.
the ones that were involved in that wreck and kept going, to get back in touch with the pack, would you risk taking like maybe 2 tires and a can of gas just to stay in this pack and hope for a caution, or do you think that would put you completely out of cycle and may not come back to help?
It's too early in the race, I think, honestly, for something like that. We've seen more often than not cautions, even sometimes a random caution, come out in the second half of the race. So I think you have to just continue to do what the rest of the field does. Don't do anything unorthodox, or else it may come back to bite you later on in the race. Then maybe I might try something like that. Like maybe even coming up on this second round of green flag pit stops, because that's going to be somewhere in the, lap 38 to 39 range. Maybe then I consider doing something like that, but I'm not even honestly certain if taking 2 tires, it would depend on the gap from you to the next truck. I don't know if 2 tires would help you make up the gap even still on drivers towards the tail end of the lead pack.
Because it would really depend on how long you're on pit road for.
Yeah, and what the gap is. If you're, say, maybe 7-8 seconds behind the next truck that came to pit road, I think you probably, with 2 tires, could make up that ground and be able to still stay in the draft. But if you're, say, 15 to 20 seconds back, I think you're still leaving pit road and not going to be able to catch up to that group, and then you're at a full can of fuel deficit.
True. I would say right now, from what we can see based off of the telemetry here, Jessica Shelton is probably about 13 seconds behind the 21 truck.
Yep. That's what my telemetry is showing as well. So, yeah, right now, just based off of that, I think they're outside the range where even if they went with 2 tires, they still would not be merged in with drivers towards the tail end of the field. They've just got to hope that a caution flag comes out at this point in time. Is
Before
right
they
now
get before they get lapped.
Right. If they get lapped, then gracious, that's going to be quite a dog fight for the 2 lucky dog positions.
Well, they just got to hope that 2 cautions come out quick.
Now, to their credit, even after the cycle pit stops, that group of 4 has not fallen any further back than about 19 seconds from the leader. They've not fallen past the 20-plus second margin. So they've at least been able to keep more than half a racetrack between them and the race leader, eliminating the possibility, at least at this point in time, of them falling -1. As things cycle around, 10 drivers up in this lead group back to Richard Martin. And you got a second group, roughly about a second and 3/10 perhaps there.
Yeah, they're not that far behind. They're not that far behind the lead. At least the pack,
right?
The last car in the pack. So they should be getting some draft off of that last car.
Like it looked like a second and a half last time by between Martin in 10th and Bernie Mobbs in 11th. So they're definitely going to catch. Seminara is in that pack. Very tail end of that pack is Brian Schilling. And trying to check and see. Looks like outside of Milt Surratt, who had that spin coming from pit road, it doesn't look like anybody else really had any issues. You mentioned about Brian Schilling overshooting his pit stall. That's kind of what's mired him back there at the tail end of pack number 2. But nobody, it looks like, ended up getting a speeding penalty, and I think they all were able to get through that round of green flag pit stops relatively clean, with the exception of the 80 spin, and that wasn't even due to contact. That was just locking up the brakes and hitting the inside wall. So good job by these drivers. At least the first round of pit stalls a success, but as things stand right now, they've got 2 more pit stops that they're going to have to make before the conclusion of this race. Question is, though, will they both also be under green, or will they maybe get the benefit of being able to do one of those pit stops under the yellow flag? As just saw right there, pack number 2 caught up to pack number 1. We've now got a 22-car field up here in this lead. Gribbles, we got a car in the wall. That was Dave Cannon. Yeah, and I noticed Rodney Sullins in the 38 go low. I don't know if those 2 maybe made a little bit of contact there through the second corner, but
that could have been just
save
the
by
caution. That could have been just the caution that they needed.
yes.
Luckily, he was able to save that race car.
Saved there by Gabe Cannon. Going to drop back a couple of positions. He was 13th last time by. Looks like he'll drop into around the 18th position this time around.
A little bit of side-by-side. I see mid-pack there. The Richard Martin left up, hanging out to dry on the outside lane.
Talked about the drivers in the final four. Odds not really in favor of them going to victory lane this season. Take a look who's at. Oh,
there it is.
Down in a minute because Kelly Causey and Brian Schilling just got together back there. And that is
a caution. Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. It is going to bring out the caution. Yep. Yellow flag out for the first time here tonight. Two-time winner Kelly Causey. And one of our final four competitors, Brian Schilling. Both getting pretty good contact, it looked like, with the outside wall off of turn number 2. Saw that group right back there. Shelton, Nofsker, Metallic, and McClure. I think they all just breathed one collective sigh of relief. That's the caution they've been waiting for the last 27 laps.
Oh, it was Cy Jones. Cy Jones. Looked like the 28 and the 3 got together. Cy Jones turned down, got loose to try to avoid it, slid right back up the racetrack, put the 00 in the wall, and when he bounced off the wall, got into the 4 of Brian Schilling.
See it there, and
there was a stack
actually
up.
was the one.
There was a bit of a
the
stack up. That's what it was.
Causey was the one that got the wall more than Schilling did. Schilling maybe some right side contact with Causey bouncing down into him, so the 4 may get away relatively unscathed.
I agree. I
We're gonna
believe
move
that is the case.
We're gonna move the camera shot up here a little bit further, so that way you can see the stack up that Michael described. And I think it was that Crivello, Sullins, and Palmer, I think, that kind of had the stack up happen that everybody else behind reacted to. Oh yeah, there was actually a bump in the corner there. Palmer into the back of Sullins. And everybody behind started checking up. That's what led to the contact there and the evasive move by Cy Jones that eventually sent him up into Causey and bounced him off the wall into Brian Schilling. Doesn't look like race-ending damage really for any of the drivers involved. A little arrow damage for the 00 of Causey, but I think everybody should be able to continue. And interesting here, everybody's down pit road. They were all on pit road about 9 laps ago, but is this just the mentality of I'd rather make a pit stop under caution than have to make a pit stop under green about in another 9-10 laps?
Yeah, it might very well be. Plus, this will push back their second pit stop to where maybe they can make it the rest of the way.
Oh, contact off pit road!
Joe DeSpirito, I think he'll still get credit for coming off of pit road first.
I think he got clipped by Terry Bombard, and how he saved that, I'm not sure. And I think you're right. I think he was the first one to the pit exit line, so he is going to get us back underway. If he had gotten spun out, more than likely he would have had to have given up all of those spots. So
I don't think so. I think they still would have scored him there.
Go back and look at that again, because
might have just been some incidental contact coming out of your pit stalls.
Well, Terry Bombard, I think, had the number 2 pit stall, so he would have had that wide swing on exit. I think he had to come around the 28 of Mark Paglia, who came down pit road late. Yeah, there's the 28 into his stall. Spirito leaving, and watch the 10. Yeah, the 10 has to swing wide, get around the 28 and clips the 24 in the left rear, so really nothing Terry could have done. That was a great save there by Joe DeSpirito, and going to more than likely cycle him out as the race leaders. We did have a couple of drivers stay out, Cy Jones, Brian Russ, and Robbie Nices.
Yeah,
Cy Jones is staying out because he was the cause of the incident. Those drivers usually pit the second time by. We'll see if the 21 and the 54 elect to stay out, because as we said, these drivers were not yet to when they would have had to have made a pit stop. Nices is in this time, but
only the 21.
Yeah, so for Brian Rawson, if he does stay out and he does lead us to green, he's going to have to come to pit road somewhere prior to lap 40. Everybody else should be able to make it somewhere to around lap, 47, 48, maybe 49 or 50, depending on
Yeah,
what they'd be able to save.
I would probably say I would say around lap 48. That's my guess.
So that'd be, what, about 8 laps difference from what Brian Rawson would potentially be able to go. But this could just be the strategy of get a lap-led bonus point for the Mark Martin throwback, the Folgers Ford F-Series.
Lights are still on the pace car, so he's still got one more lap to come down.
So those drivers that had fallen back were hoping for the caution. Shelton, Metallic, McClure, and Nofsker. Now new opportunity for all 4 of those drivers. After the cycle of pit stops, it looks like they're going to be starting back around 20th through 23rd. Looks like Shelton may have come down and topped off the fuel tank there under the second lap of caution. Interesting to see how long it takes for them to work their way up to the front here. Remember, all 4 of those drivers started this race outside of the top 15 and were behind that stack up. Now they've got a chance to get up here in the conversation. While we've got the moment here under pacing, I want to bring up the question I was going to ask just when the contact took place off of turn number 2. A lot of drivers in this field, a lot of them that have been up at the front here in the early going tonight, still searching for that first checkered flag. They're not in the conversation for the championship anymore, and a few of them weren't in the conversation, didn't advance into the playoffs overall. One driver I look at here, Michael, is that 24 of Joe DeSpirito. Last week, dominated that race, led more than half of the laps, but came up just short. Grant Wesley was able to get around him to pick up that checkered flag. Well, so far here tonight, Joe DeSpirito has led the most laps. He has run 25 of the completed 29 circuits out in front. If it comes down to him and a playoff driver in the closing stages again tonight, I have a feeling the aggression level is going to be kicked up because the 24 is just out trophy hunting now. He wants that checkered flag that's eluded him for the first 13 races of the year.
Absolutely, and alongside him, Grant Wesley. You know, we all know how good he is, where he could stick his truck at the very end of this race to get himself a shot at winning. So, you know, we talked about wanting to be defending going into the next race, and he could very well do that.
Yeah, I mean, we talked with him last week after he picked up his second win on the season, and he said, I'm going into this first race of the Final Four, treating it as a must-win situation race because I want to get all the points I possibly can. As you mentioned, he said he wants to be on defense going into that final race of the season, and that seems to kind of be the general consensus for drivers that we've talked to, whether it was them advancing into the round of 8 or eventually advancing into the Final Four. Lights out atop the FRN Pace truck. There'll be Joe DeSpirito that will get us back under the green. Grant Wesley will line up to his outside, so these two rekindling the battle they had in the closing stages last week at Talladega. Terry Bombard's going to be third, Jeremy Jeffries up in fourth, and Donnie Garrett is going to complete the top 5. In the 6th position is where we'll find Ken Roberts. 7th place is going to be Craig Hagley, who was the winner from a couple of weeks ago. Then you've got 8th place, Glenn Harris. We haven't mentioned him really tonight. Good run for him. Dave Melson in 9th, and JT Mayhew trying to get his Tally Challenge luck turned around. He's going to be completing the top 10. Bob Seminara, he's in 11th place. 12th for Rodney Sullins. 13th, Jeff Corbello. 14th, Bernie Mobbs. Mark Paglia will complete the top 15. Then Wiley Coate, Greg Palmer, Richard Martin, David Cannon, and Tim Knopfsker. That's the top 20. 3 of our Final 4 inside of the top 20 right now. The only one that's outside the top 20 is Brian Schilling in the 23rd position. We'll see if the Square D Dodge can get himself back up here and into the conversation, maybe for his first victory on the season. He's been Mr. Consistency, but he's yet to get that checkered flag, and a lot of the reason was he was running up in the top 2, top 3 in closing stages and kind of threw up his hands and said, I got more to lose than some of these other guys I'm battling. Was more than content to take the points, take the podium finish to advance his way into the playoffs via points. As here we go, green flag set to come back out, and let's hope that the restart is a little bit better than the start. Looks like everybody
Yep, it looks
fired
like
off
everyone's
well.
got it. Yep, I was gonna say everyone fired off well this time. So first time since the start of this race, we'll have everybody in the same pack.
See which lane's going to get the advantage here as Joe DeSpirito has Terry Bombard on the bottom. Wesley's got Jeremy Jeffries on the top. I believe it was the last time we were here at BSR, we saw the 88 and the 1 working together, knew that they were more than likely going to be competing against each other for this championship in the Final Four, but kind of unofficial teammates in getting to the Final Four, if you will, for a time, and they might be doing the same thing again here as we near the halfway this evening at Birch Screwdrivers Raceway. Wesley, good run there through the tri-oval, edges ahead, and he will get the lap lead. First lap lead of the night for driver 88. He might be clear going into 1. Not quite. DeSpirito got back to the left rear quarter panel.
It's a good battle side by side. I like this, already a third lane forming in the back.
That's
the third lane.
Nofsker and Schiller and McClure in that. They're saying, we were running single file for the first 25 laps. We want to do something.
Yeah, but they got to be careful because one mistake will take them immediately out of this race.
Mark there as well. Tim Nofsker. Looks like Schiller and McClure bailed out of that third line.
Yep, see, they do better.
Robbie Nisus is up there. Kelly Causey up there. Ooh, Glenn Harris in the 8. Little loose there off of 4. Running in that 4th position.
Let's talk
Krispy
about him.
Kreme,
Look at him up here in
Chevrolet.
4th position. Running good today.
Wait, who'd you say?
The 8, Glenn Harris.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good run for him right now.
I finished my last Krispy Kreme donut today, so the scheme is slightly depressing for me.
What kind of donut was it?
Just the original glazed.
Vanilla.
Vanilla?
Yes. That means you're not exciting, you're just vanilla.
Oh,
Just
I'm vanilla. I thought you were saying the donut was vanilla.
No, I'm calling you vanilla.
Ah, I mean,
live a little bit.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Live a little, why don't you? Anyways,
yeah,
so now we had the whole bottom lane just move up to about the top lane, to about the top lane there. Now we're getting single file again.
Just managed to work his way up here into the top 6. 38 of Rodney Sullins. We saw him back around the tail end of the lead pack just prior to that caution coming out. He was actually in that stack up that kind of led to the incident off of turn 2, and he's up here inside of the top 10. Joe DeSpirito has suddenly faded back to, looks like, the 8th position, right behind Donnie Garrett, just in front of Tim Nofsker. Remember the question I brought out there before we went green, all those 4 drivers that run in single file, hoping for a caution to come out, how long would it take to work them to the front? Well, for Nofsker and Chuck McClure, they're both already up inside of the top 10.
Yep, ain't gonna take long.
Back. Might have lost 1 driver. Oh yeah, there he is. Milt Surratt's on pit road. Actually, he's going to the garage. I was going to say, I didn't see him at the tail end of the pack there. I saw him on my telemetry is running at the tail end of the pack. And as you just saw right there, Milt Surratt's going to be the first retiree from the race. Had that incident coming to pit road during what was the only cycle so far of green flag pit stops, hit the guardrail, which is an Armco steel guardrail. There's no safer barrier there. And I've just been told, I've just gotten the word, connection problems for the 80. That's why he's retired out of the race. So it wasn't damage, it was connectivity issues. Tough break there for Milt Surratt. That caution helped him to be able to get back into this race, but it's not going to reach the conclusion, so he'll get credit for 30th position here tonight.
Fortunately, there are some things you can and cannot.
Yep, and unfortunately too, this type of racing is the one where really connection issues are the bane of your racing existence because everybody is so close. If you're racing maybe at a 1.5 mile track where things are spread out, okay, you got some connection problems, but you can usually find yourself a safe place where it's not going to affect anybody. In this race, no matter where you're running, you have a side-to-side warp or some kind of connection problem, it affects everybody. And looks like we've got another driver that just came to pit road into the garage area, David Cannon. Tough break there. He had that really good save in the first half of the race. Give credit, looks like for 29th position. All right, so we said, what'd you say, about 47? Lap 47 was around when you thought these drivers would probably have to come to pit road. We are nearing that point.
38.
Yeah, we're about, what, 9-10 laps away from that. Is this the money stop is the question, though, because let's see, 47. Oh, wow.
I would put them right there.
47, they are right on the mark. Literally right on the mark. 19 laps to go. And usually they can run about 19 laps on a tank of fuel.
So then that begs the question, do you want to be the leader?
Oh, boy. I think so, because I think the leader can go 19 laps. Drivers behind can usually stretch it to 20 laps. So I think maybe you do want to be the leader because, you know, on what potentially could be the final pit stop, I think you want to be the one to determine how aggressively you're getting on pit road. You don't want to adhere to somebody else's braking point. We'll see. We'll see if Grant Wesley maybe drops back a little bit to tuck in line and save some fuel. As of right now, it doesn't look like that's the case, as he and Jeffries will duck down from the middle to the inside line in front of Ken Roberts. And mid-pack, they're starting to form a third lane. Greg Palmer, Craig Hagley, Josh Metallic up there. I think that's Kelly Causey, Jessica Shelton also trying to make something happen. Momentum getting lost in that middle line with Glenn Harris, JT Mayhew, and Wiley Coate as the top 6 on the inside line are clear, at least for the moment, back to Novsker.
This is a big hornet's nest right here, Seth. I mean, they're all over the place. It's getting down to crunch time. These trucks still have one pit stop left, which is the way they're racing. That pit stop might come under yellow.
It very well might, and if we were to get a caution prior to that green flag pit stop, then that would mean that they would not be able to make it the rest of the way. They'd have to pit twice.
They'd have to pit twice, but that second pit stop, you wouldn't have to take a lot.
Correct. Yeah, you probably would have to
take maybe at least a can.
At least a can, maybe a half can, dependent on the number of laps left. And of course, as well, you know, the possibility that the race could end under caution. We get to that point of no return, yellow flag comes out, and
ooh, and imagine, oh, there it is. There it is.
Not gonna get to that. Whoa! Did they save it?
They did.
Hagley into the wall. Metallic was into the back of him. And Hagley somehow, with maybe the aid of the wall off of turn 2, was able to hang on to it. No caution. That should have been a big one.
Well,
that absolutely should have been a big one.
Possible intent wreck. Somebody came off and hit him. I think it might have been Wiley Coate. I'm hearing over the radio anyways.
Have to maybe go back and look
if you can
at
look,
that.
Yeah, if you can look at it right now, he just like, it's almost like he tire tunnels. He just goes right into the side of him right there.
All right, we'll hopefully have them mind their manners as we go back and take a look at this replay off of turn number 2.
Yeah, right at the
oh, no, there was contact between the 28 and the 5.
Oh, yep. Yeah, there was. Just barely.
Maybe a little bit of side-to-side there contact, but there was definitely some contact that pushed the 5 up into the 32.
I didn't see side-to-side. I think it was just he just kind of pushed up off the corner too much.
Yep. We'll get another angle of it here. Watch the 28 on the inside line here. Push up just a little bit. Maybe the 5 comes down a little bit. They both meet in the middle, and Craig Hagley pays the price. But, man, normally that hit into the outside wall should have jutted the 32 back down into the pack, and somehow he was able to get the thing straightened back out, and we stay under green. And credit to everybody else that was behind him to give him the space to gather it back up too, because normally a truck that gets into the wall, that scrubs off 5-10 miles per hour speed, and more often than not somebody's going to be into the back of him. Metallic, I think, was right behind him, so good job by these guys. That should have been a caution, wasn't a caution.
New leader up at the front, Ken Roberts in the 55. Tim Nofsker right behind him, and Brian Schilling in third.
Been a while since Ken Roberts has been to victory lane. His first career victory, if I recall correctly, was about 4 or 5 seasons ago. It advanced him into the playoffs, and Ken Roberts trying to get back to victory lane. And again,
we're about
he's
4
one
or
of
5
those
laps away.
Yes, we are. Oh, and Ken Roberts getting caught out there as Novsker, Schilling, and McClure go to the inside line. I don't know if that was as much them going for the lead as it was them getting to the inside in preparation for that pit stop.
Could be both.
Could be both. You're right. Kill two birds with one stone potentially. So Novsker.
What are you doing to that bird?
I mean, you know, you can plan its funeral later on, or both their funerals rather.
Damn, we need a commercial break at some point.
Well, I mean, you know, if these drivers keep it clean,
We're
here,
too
maybe,
excited up here. We need something to calm us down.
I mean, if might be able to have time to go to the commercial break right now before the pit stops.
No,
if you think
no.
they'll keep it together.
Oh no! See, we're not Fox. We wait till after. We're not Fox. Yes, I called you out, Fox. Sue me.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm on board with the call out though.
We'll wait till after the pit stops.
I mean, you know, if we were Fox during the pit stops, we would go to a full screen commercial where people wouldn't see anything. They come back. Oh yeah, they pitted, by the way.
Well, Grant Wesley trying to get an outside line going there, so that tells me he's trying to get up more out to the front before the pit stops happen. So
I think that's exactly what's going on here. He wants to be the leader when the pit stops take place. Grant Wesley, one of the most. Whoa, Ken Roberts
really
way
high
up the track.
I think he might have he might have misjudged the entry there, just a
Grant
little bit.
Is, maybe one of the most aggressive drivers getting onto pit road that we've seen here in this series.
I don't see any light ups yet in terms of wanting to come to pit road.
Have to be within the next 3 laps, I would assume.
Oh, I think Dave Cannon. Dave Cannon, I believe, is also behind the wall. I don't know if we talked about that.
Yep, I did. He actually came to pit road into the garage about 2 laps after Milt Surratt.
Oh, okay.
Thought I saw a truck down on the apron there through 3 and 4. I think it might have been Mark Paglia.
No, you're just seeing your future. It's gonna be you on the apron in 3 and 4.
Yeah, on the apron. I'm gonna get Kyle Bushed.
Well, I'm gonna knock on some wood and say at least we haven't seen a blown engine so far yet.
That's true. That is true. We ended up having quite a spell of mechanical failures in the last couple of weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Seth.
Actually, I believe the guy that's leading right now was one of those drivers that got plagued by it.
Here we go. I see some radios lighting up. I guess we'll see who comes in.
I have to assume maybe Grant Wesley be one of them. He led most of that run.
The 143. Yep, it's the 143. Here he comes.
It's the 143 of Bob Dixon.
So that means that the rest of them are coming this time by.
Usually the telltale sign. Whoa, Dougie! That was Chuck McClure and Donnie Garrett getting together there through the tri-oval, and both were down on the apron trying to gather back up.
I was wondering why the one suddenly went a little higher.
Yeah, that would be why. Nice save by both of those drivers. We've kind of been playing with fire here tonight. Had about maybe 2 or 3 times where a caution should have maybe happened, a wreck should have maybe happened, and it didn't.
Here they come. A bunch of cars are pitting. Bob Seminara, Brian Schilling, Jessica Shelton, and others coming down pit road this time.
You just named off 2 of our final 4. It looks like Grant Wesley might be coming down this time. He's kind of pinching the 088 down there, pitting from the 2nd lane.
Keep an eye, keep an eye, keep an eye. Ooh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
3 wide.
That looked like Tim Knopfsker and the 88 came down really hard. We'll have to wait and see if they have a penalty. If
they get it woed down enough, we'll have to wait and find out. I believe that we had 3 of our 4 final 4 drivers on pit road. The only one that didn't come down pit road was the one of Jeremy Jeffries, who's now out in front. And believe it or not, he's been up inside of the top 10 pretty much all night. That was his first lap led.
So we've had an incident on pit road, not a spin or anything, but Paglia ran into the back of Shelton as she was trying to enter her pit stall and caused her to miss her pit stall.
Yeah, I think we caught the tail end of that there when these drivers are on pit lane as group number 2 on pit road. Man, this is a hornet's nest back here.
3 wide.
In two areas there. Craig Hagley going up the middle. Oh, and he's going to get into the back of Richard Martin, who then gets into Wiley Coates. So, not incidents on the entry to pit road, but certainly incidents in the middle portion of pit road for both groups.
And this is why you shouldn't enter pit road 3 wide.
3 wide.
Well,
you know the old adage, right? If it's paved, they will use it. They probably shouldn't, but they will.
Well, I'm not seeing any type of black flag yet on the 088 or the 88 for that matter.
Yeah, we saw those guys very aggressive on pit road. Almost kind of had a bit of an NHRA drag race at the entrance of pit road, and looks like maybe they might cycle out. First and second, Chuck McClure going to latch on to them.
These trucks should be good, as there's 17 laps to go. So these trucks should be good to make it on fuel.
Well, they may not cycle out to the lead. Take a look here. Jeffries, Harris, and Rodney Sullins. Can they get up to speed in time before that trio catches them?
We're going 10 miles an hour slower right now.
Rodney Sullins moving up the track, might be trying to block them, get a push from them. Nope, not going to happen. They're going to go to the third line.
Take some of them. Black flags
no!
maybe?
Did the one get a penalty?
I think he did.
And the 8's on pit road too. Jeremy Jeffries, 3-time winner on the season. All 3 of those victories right here at Bird Screwdrivers Raceway. One of the final 4 competitors on pit road. My telemetry is not giving me any indication of what the penalty served is.
JT Mayhew coming out of pit road. He was the leader last time by, so now he's taking his place back in the line to the line of people here, and it looks like Novsker will cycle around as the race leader.
That is huge for Jeremy Jeffries in that one truck, because we're in the closing stages of this race. We're at about 15 laps to go. We've only had 1 caution so far here tonight. And we'll have to wait and see where Jeremy Jeffries cycles around after that pass-through penalty has been served. Right now, scoring has him in 22nd place. Another driver that did not get the pit stop he was looking for, and I don't know if he had an incident or not, is Bob Seminara. They've got him shown back in 20th, 12 and a half seconds behind the leader. He had an incident on pit road, or I don't think he would have gotten a speeding penalty, or else he would have been further back with the pass through. Right now, you mentioned drivers, the final 4 said tonight was where they wanted to get the most points they possibly could to be able to be on defense going into next week. Right now, Grant Wesley and Brian Schilling are in the position to do just that. Grant's in 2nd, Brian is 7th. Both are in this lead pack right now. Seminara is officially 20th after the cycle of pit stops. Jeremy Jeffries after the pass-through is 25th. Both drivers obviously need a caution to be able to get back into this race.
And if they need it, and if they're going to get one, then they're going to need to get it soon. Because
it needs to be in the next 9 laps, I would say.
We're approaching 10 laps to go here.
No drivers are a lap down.
Yeah, we have about 9 cars on this lead pack, my bad. Lead pack.
With no drivers, well, actually, they're starting to close in potentially on a lap truck. That's Jessica Shelton.
Yep, Jessica Shelton and Bob Dixon.
So if she does get lapped prior to a caution flying, then that could add an extra lap of pacing, which would then put about lap 61. That the race would maybe end under yellow, potentially. Of this lead group, though, we mentioned the 2 championship 4 drivers. Tim Novsker showing the way in the 088. You talked about the mechanical failures. Tim Novsker was one of the drivers that got plagued with a mechanical failure a couple of weeks ago. He's looking for his 2nd win on the season, looking to join Wesley, Causey, and Jeffries as a multi-time winner. Chuck McClure looking to do the same. He won the season opener, did not advance into the final 4. He's in that 3rd position. Donnie Garrett there in the 77. Good run all night long for the Astroglide Chevrolet Silverado, as he is still his first win on the season, and right behind him is Rodney Sullins in the 38, also looking for his first win of the season. Whoa!
Caution is out. Caution is out. Metallic and Paglia in turns 3 and 4.
And that is yet another saving grace caution for a couple of drivers. This
Something
time,
happened.
Seminara and Jeffries.
Oh, the 10 got hooked by the 31. And then came down into Paglia and Metallic and Paglia got together, and that's the caution that these trucks needed. And with, like you said, nobody was a lap down.
Look at it going into 3.
Paglia's race might be done. He's speeding down pit road right now.
Oh, yeah.
It was a stack up. It was, he got bumper hooked.
And I think that is Paglia's race done. His front end that houses the engine got sandwiched between Josh Metallic and that outside wall. And Metallic may have some pretty good front end damage too.
Yeah. I don't know. Some of these trucks are a little durable. But Seth, this is going to give us a restart under 10 laps to go.
You know what also is interesting? We've had only 2 cautions tonight. Both cautions have been pretty much similar. An incident caused in reaction to another incident.
That's true.
The
now
28 and the 39's contact was avoiding what we just saw there between the 10 and the 31. Our earlier caution was contact of drivers reacting to a stack up in front of them. So
interesting that about do you pit, but I guess they gave you the answer right here, and that's no.
No, I don't think you do. They were within the fuel window to make it when they came to pit road. They're not going to give up the track position 1, and you've got 3-4 laps of pacing here with which to be able to save if you were maybe a lap short of making it the rest of the way.
That's true. Hey, look, a chance for us to calm down up here in the booth.
It is indeed a chance for us to calm down. So we're going to step aside. We are going to wait and figure out where our final 4 all are going to cycle around for potentially the final restart of the night. And we're going to give a word from our sponsor, Ultimate Garage Floors, as we're going to take you FRN side by side. The following presentation of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series on the Flatout Racing Network is brought to you by Ultimate Garage Floors. Ultimate Garage Floors is very active in the garage remodeling community, staying current with the latest technologies and custom configurations so that we can bring you the highest quality installations. As a Northern Virginia Exposy flooring installer, we focus on garages and commercial flooring to perfect our craft and bring you high results. In a space that gets as much wear and tear as your garage, you want to be able to trust that the cabinets and flooring we install are ready to withstand against high traffic and regular use. That is why we include a lifetime warranty with our services so that you know we stand behind the quality of our work. To get started with a free consultation, call us at 540-931-9006 or visit us on the web at ultimategaragefloorsva.net. That's ultimategaragefloorsva.net. laps to decide it here tonight. The first of 2 races for the final round of the RTG Talladega Challenge Series. Who is going to get this checkered flag? Tim Nofsker currently going to be the one to lead us back to green, but Grant Wesley looking for his 3rd win on the season, back-to-back victories, and maybe to be the guy to beat going into next week's finale. He'll line up 2nd. 3rd place could be Chuck McClure. 4th place, Donnie Garrett. And 5th will be Rodney Sullins. Brian Schilling up there in 6th. He's the other of the final 4 drivers that...
The other.
That's how the British would say it. The other driver that's up there in the top 10 for this restart. And it's Ken Roberts, Kelly Causey, Greg Palmer, and Jeff Crivello going to be the top 10. Now this caution helped a couple of drivers, a couple of our final 4 that had some issues on pit road. Bob Seminara and Jeremy Jeffries. Seminara will restart in 15th. Jeremy Jeffries will be in 21st. We'll see if they're able to get themselves up here to the front, up at least into the same vicinity as the 88 and the 4, to make it a battle going into next week's race at Talladega.
I was just told over the radio that I believe Richard Martin does not have 1st gear.
And Martin is restarting in the 17th position, so we'll keep our eyes on mid-pack. As green flag is in the air, we're back underway. But now, Michael, it begs the question, which flag are we racing to? Because if a caution comes out within the next 2 or 3 laps, race would probably end under yellow, despite the fact we don't have any drivers a lap down.
We might not.
Drivers have to plan their moves accordingly.
Yep, which lane's going to be the one that's going to move? And it looks like that could very well be the outside lane, as there's not a lot of trucks on the bottom.
Even, 5 on the bottom, 6 on the top.
Call that even?
Well, now 7 on the top, so now it's no longer getting even.
Such an odd number. Yes, that was a pun.
I am aware it is a pun. I'm giving you a small golf clap. Nofsker on that inside line. Look at the drivers that Wesley is surrounded by there, though. Nofsker and McClure both looking for their 2nd win of the season. Donnie Garrett behind the 88 looking for his 1st win on the season. These guys are hungry. They know he's battling for a championship, but at the same time, they're looking to pad their stats here at the close of the year. And that was a big save by the 77 of Donnie Garrett. We'll see if that slip-up helps the inside line.
Oh, they're getting so racy.
Martin up there to the 3rd lane. That Jeremy Jeffries that's moved up there with him, I believe, in the 1.
Very well be. That caution helped him.
You can't move to the front by riding in line. Jeremy Jeffries trying something up there with the 43. The 38's jumped up there of Melson. Craig Hagley and Terry Bombard also up there as well. Seminara trying to make forward progress, but he's kind of boxed in back there around the 15th position. He's the 7th or 8th truck on that inside line.
The middle lane's got to watch out. If that the 3rd lane gets up to him, that's going to kill the momentum of that middle lane.
We've seen that a lot, haven't we, here at BSR, where when that 3rd line forms, all of a sudden the kind of like the air comes out of that momentum of the middle groove. We'll see if that happens here as Melson. Big push from Richard Martin. They're 3 wide around the 9th position this time down the back straightaway. And we are into the point of no return. Is almost contact there. Crivello got loose in the middle line, almost up into Richard Martin, but they keep it together.
88 was able to clear the 088, so he moved down.
Wesley, how wide does he make that bumper if it comes down between him and a non-playoff driver, a non-Final Four driver in the closing stages? Nofsker all over the back bumper of Wesley, looking high. Now he'll jump up there. McClure goes with him, and Wesley's on an island by himself, about 2 truck lengths back to his next drafting partner, which would be Rodney Sullins.
But doing that side by side right there could pull that 3rd lane, and if it does, that middle lane is gonna die out, or at least the momentum will.
We've seen in the past the timing of the yellow, sometimes fortunate for drivers, sometimes unfortunate. Sometimes it happens through the tri-oval. Not enough time for someone to be able to make a move for the win. But right now, that middle line, it is motoring. And one of the drivers in that middle line is Brian Schilling in the 4.
And the middle lane died. You can see it now. They are pretty much part of the outside lane, at least for right now, but there's no more middle lane. There's only 4 trucks.
You're Nofsker. I think right now you might have to consider cutting your losses and going to the inside in front of Wesley, because, yeah, here comes that outside line.
Oh, never mind.
That outside line broke up.
Yeah, 77 move outside. Everybody else turn down low.
Wow. That outside line, that was actually getting the momentum. For a moment, I thought Dave Melson was going to get alongside Grant Wesley within the next couple of corners, but now it's going to be Donnie Garrett, Dave Melson, Richard Martin trying to make it happen by themselves. That helped the inside line. Wesley clear back to the point with less than 2.5 to go. Rodney Sullivan's going to move into second. Palmer looks to move into third.
Fourth truck, middle line. Is that number one?
Oh, Schilling!
There it goes. Yep, there it is.
That's going to be the caution. That's going to end the race.
That's a
Grant
big
Wesley going to try and keep them at bay. Sullins, I don't think, has enough time to make a move. And Wesley's going to win under caution. He's going to be public enemy number one going into next week's finale. Back-to-back victories, third win on the season, and looking for what would be back-to-back championships and third championship in 4 seasons. What a drive by Grant Wesley, and there it was. I mentioned sometimes the misfortunate timing of the caution. You just cannot have enough time to make a move when you've only got about half the tri-oval to work with.
Yep, let's see. The four just got really loose and overcorrected up into the 77.
Well, Grant Wesley and Brian Schilling, the 2 drivers that have previously in the last 2 seasons won the championship. Grant Wesley, defending champion, wins here tonight. Brian Schilling, the champion from 2 seasons ago, the reason for this most recent caution. And now you know basically the drivers that are going to be on offense and defense going into next week. Jeremy Jeffries did work his way back up to 8th, and Seminara worked his way back up to 9th. Grant Wesley, we know how good he is when he's on offense, provided he's able to make it this final lap and a half here under pacing. We're going to be getting maybe to see a different side of him where he is on complete defense next week. Go back and take a look at what brought out this final caution. It's about a little less than a lap left to go.
I'm trying to decide. I'm trying to look back and see at what happened. I couldn't tell if maybe there was a bit of bumper grab between the 4 and the 17 that got him
I think
loose.
there was.
It might have been, yeah, because then he kind of like overcorrected. You could see him trying to turn back down, like trying not to hit the 77. But man, when he hit the 77, he hit the wall. He flipped over, got caught in the catch fence for a brief second.
A lot of drivers there that we'll take a look at further up that were collected in this.
The 43 involved, Cy Jones, Wiley Coat involved.
The tough break for Brian Schilling was
the 55.
All those other drivers involved, but they all either slid or drove across the start finish line before he did, so he wasn't able to pick up those positions.
Wesley able to just come off the corner and take the yellow flag.
Nelson, Shelton there. There's a 77 of Garrett. Had to use pit road.
Top 3 gonna be Grant Wesley, Rodney Sullins, and Greg Palmer.
All 3 of those drivers started out the playoffs with hopes of winning the championship.
And Jeremy Jeffries clawed his way back up to the 8th position.
Yeah, Seminara got a top 10 as well. So they're going to be at a deficit, obviously, to Grant Wesley points-wise going into next week. Again, we were talking about this during the commercial break. It's not a win and you're in scenario in this final round. It's just the most points accumulated between this race and next week. So they all started out with the same amount of points, so more than likely they'll be about anywhere from 10 to 12 points behind Grant Wesley going into next week, but that's manageable, especially if Grant runs into a problem in next week's season finale. As through the tri-oval for the final time, Grant Wesley, back-to-back victories. He won final race of the round of 8 last week to advance into the final 4. And here tonight, fires the first shot, if you will. He's going to take the checkered flag here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. 3rd win on the season. He will be the points leader of the 4 drivers battling for the championship going into next week. And oh gosh, that goes above and beyond the boundaries of a congratulatory bump. Maybe they're trying to make sure that this truck doesn't make it to next week because it was so fast. Trying to put him into a backup truck.
For real, right?
Grant led 16 laps here tonight. Didn't lead until about the second half of the race, but green flag pit stops really seemed to be where he was able to gain the track position and maintain the track position this evening, as he'll be bringing it around here and getting ready to do some burnouts. I mentioned this stat last week. Grant Wesley trying to win back-to-back championships for the first time since Joe DeSpirito did it back in seasons 50 and 51. So it's been a while since we've had a back-to-back champion. Grant Wesley, at least as of right now, down this home stretch, looks like he could be poised to do just that. He now joins Jeremy Jeffries for most wins on the season, 3. Let me double check. I believe that this is his second victory on the season at BSR. Yes, it is. 2 victories now at Burnt Screwdrivers and 1 victory at Talladega. As the celebration continues for the 88 truck, take a look at your finishing results here tonight. Michael took us down through our podium finishers. Tim Knopfsker going to bring it home in the 4th position tonight. Joe DeSpirito is going to get the top 5 in 5th. Chuck McClure, good comeback run for him. Remember, he was one of the 4 drivers that was running back outside of the top 25 for most of the race, at least the first half of the race. Got the caution he needed and battled back for a top 10. Bernie Mobbs will get 7th. Jeremy Jeffries and Bob Seminara, they'll keep their championship hopes at least within view with an 8th and 9th place performance. And Glenn Harris going to bring it home in the 10th position. Craig Hagley in 11th, Jeff Crivello in 12th. 13th was JT Mayhew, 14th Bob Dixon, and Kelly Causey completes the top 15. I believe the rest of these drivers on down were involved in that incident coming back to the line, that wreck through the tri-oval. Terry Bombard will get 16th, Dave Melson 17th, 18th for Brian Rawson. Robbie Nices and Ken Roberts complete the top 20. Shelton, Jones, Martin, Metallic, and Coate the top 25. Donnie Garrett in 26. Brian Schilling, been one of the most consistent drivers all season, but caught up in that late race incident. He'll finish the last truck running in 27th here tonight. Maybe a must-win situation heading into next week, but not certain even a win could get in this championship. It all depends on the other 3 championship competitors, where they finish, and then 3 drivers did not reach the conclusion. Mark Paglia, Dave Cannon, and Milt Surratt completing the 30-truck field. But what do you say, Michael? Time to go down there and dial up these podium finishers, see what they thought of tonight's race. Had a bit of twists and turns with the long green flag runs and the timing of the cautions. Let's see if we can dial up driver the number 22, Greg Palmer. Hey, Greg, it's Michael and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Mike and Seth, good evening.
Well, man, I'll tell you what. Close to picking up that second win on the season. Obviously, the misfortune of not moving on to this Final Four, but still trying to get as many checkered flags before the conclusion. Timing of this yellow, don't think it really worked out to your benefit. Was there anything you could have done in terms of momentum to be able to get up there to the front? Or, did you need to have those extra couple of laps run under green?
Really, I wasn't looking for the win. I was helping Grant, myself and Rodney. We stayed low because anything could have happened, an accident, high, middle. So we wanted to stay low. Grant was there. We stayed with Grant, and that's how it ended.
Yeah, it was a very hectic final couple of laps there, man. Are you able to pull back after all that, seeing all that chaos in your mirror and just making the right moves at the right time?
Yeah, I think I tinkled a little bit in my pants there. It got kind of hairy. You're right. Just try to stay with the guys and the guys in front of me, and whatever happened happened.
How difficult is it when you've got like the different drivers with the different agendas? Because early on in the season, everybody is very simple, wants to get that win to lock themselves into the playoffs. But then you get into races like this near the close of the season. Some drivers want to improve their position in points. Some drivers want to get that final win before the season comes to an end. You've got drivers that are obviously battling for the championship. You got the bracket series that's going on. So with all of that going on, does it make it more hectic for you as a driver to kind of pick and choose not only who you work with, but also, what moves you need to make at whatever points of the race?
Yes, exactly. I mean, I wasn't a factor tonight, and I didn't want to be a factor tonight. If I was going to help somebody, yes, no problem. But I did not plan on being third place or even winning. But you're right. You have to watch where you go, and you have to watch who you're rolling with. You don't want to be in somebody's way who's going for the championship. You try to help out when you can, who you can. You just try to be one of the quote nice guys.
Well, a great performance for you here tonight. Started pretty much shotgun on the field this evening, so a great net gain by the conclusion from looks like 29th to third place here this evening. Congratulations on the great run. Before we let you go, the floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Yeah, I want to thank the admins here. I mean, without RTG, there's really no sim racing. Um, Tim, Jeffrey, Sullins, Metallic, Wiley, and Wesley, everybody, all the admins here, Cannon, Bones, everybody. You guys in the booth, you guys make it happen. You guys make it so almost realistic when you guys call a race. And my teammates, you know, um, Rodney, Kenny, Craig. We just try to make things happen this year. Unfortunately, we came up short. Um, but it is what it is. There's always next year. And thanks to you guys up there, man. Thanks.
Third place tonight for Greg Palmer. Solid outing for the 22 truck. Congrats on the great run. Best of luck next week as you look to finish it out in the season finale.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Seth. Have a good one.
If we can now dial up the guy that brings it home third place here tonight. Correction, second place here tonight. We just talked with third place. Let's see if we can dial up the runner-up finisher, Rodney Sullins. Hey, Rodney, Michael, and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Well, I'll tell you what. Obviously, last couple of seasons, we saw you up in the Final Four competing for the championship. Came up just short last week, but close to maybe getting a little bit of a consolation prize tonight with the checkered flag. Had that caution come out right in the trioval. We've seen this happen in the past where the timing of the yellow just sometimes does not benefit the second or third place driver, the allotted time necessary to make a move. But if you'd had those final two laps under green flag conditions, do you have anything there for the 88?
Had a teammate behind me. Last week kind of had some miscommunication. I got out and I fell to the back, and it cost me because I finished 16th and missed out on the chase by about 5 points, 5 or 6 points. So, yeah, it happens. But yeah, I had Greg behind me. It's probably a good thing. I wanted to help Grant. Grant helped me when I got back into racing, him and Jeremy and some other guys, but those guys really helped me when I was learning to do this again a few years ago, and they really helped me. So I wanted to help Grant, and that's what I was going to do. So it kind of helped that the caution come out when it did, because had I time to think about it, and then Greg beating on my back bumper, who knows? I might have tried to go around Grant, but it finished good. We finished on our wheels up here on the podium, getting to talk to you guys after the race. So all in all, great day. Would I rather be possibly second in points right now, fighting for next week for the trophy? You dadgum right. But it's not in our cards this time. But we're going to keep plugging away.
And that was definitely one heck of a final couple of laps there. Take us through your point of view from that final restart.
Well, I was just going to push whoever and do what we could. Again, I knew Grant was there. Some other friends up there racing for this as well. But I was looking to, like I say, I want to try to kind of help Grant. He's always been good to me. And so I wanted to try to pay him back and help him out. So we got to go, and sure enough, it worked out. He actually wasn't in front of me. And then Tim and Chuck moved up back to the outside line, which left me on Grant's back bumper. So I'm like, I'm just going to push. I'm going to push that Toyota as hard as I can here at the end and see what happens.
Obviously, the race ended under yellow, and we had a couple of scares of potential yellows, but only 3 cautions here tonight. In the first two, though, it seemed like checkup was kind of the name of the game here tonight. And the first yellow that came out, you were right in the middle of that checkup that took place there. What was it here tonight that kind of led to us maybe seeing more checking up than we've seen in the past? Because it seemed like a lot more maybe single file in towards the middle back of the pack than we're used to seeing. And obviously, with the way that the draft works and everything, that truck in line further back gets a better run into the corner. So how difficult was it? You didn't obviously get the benefit of track position with random qualifying, being able to kind of pick and choose patiently which line to go into with the checkups that were taking place.
Yeah, the checkups were really, really crazy tonight. I had made note of that myself as I'm going around through there. I'm like, man, a couple of times I literally was off the throttle completely. And usually you don't do that, but I had to a couple of times, even when I was up kind of close to the front. But yeah, it was really crazy. And there was a couple of times I thought I was going to get caught up in a little something, but it all kind of worked out. Uh, I guess, maybe it's the last two races. The four champions are out there, or the four guys racing for the trophy, and maybe everybody just doesn't want to be that guy, that sends one of them in the fence, or causes a problem. So maybe we or them or some of us may have been just trying to be a little easy around them, and it may have kind of caused the whole field to pay the price.
Well, a great run for you here tonight. Again, you didn't get the benefit of good starting track position, but it's not where you start, it's where you finish, and you bring it home second place here tonight under the lights at BSR. Congratulations on a job well done. We'll now give you the opportunity to thank some sponsors and do some shoutouts.
Thank you, Seth, Michael, FRN, obviously Flatout Racing Network. I'm really looking forward to going back and watching this one. I believe it's going to be a good race to watch. But thank you guys. Appreciate it. You guys are phenomenal at what you do. Bones, David Cannon Prime, uh, the owners of Rolling Thunder. Thank them, Josh, Tim, and Wally, the series admins here, all the admins and all the other series we run, all the drivers here at RTG that make this happen. Thank my dad. Hopefully he's watching tonight. If he isn't, I know he'll watch it at some time coming up. But thank the Black Rifle Coffee team, Burnt Screwdrivers Racing team. It's good to have a good finish here. I call it my home track. But I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Look forward to watching it. Have a great night. Congratulations, Grant.
Rodney Sullivan's second place here tonight. He'll look to continue this momentum and cap off the season on a high note next week in the finale at Talladega. Congratulations on the great run. Best of luck next week.
Thanks again, Seth. Appreciate it.
And let's see if we can go down to victory lane. Third win on the season, and the guy it looks like to beat for the championship potentially going into next week in the finale at Talladega. Let's dial up Grant Wesley. Hey, Grant, Michael, and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you, Seth and Mike.
Well, last week we talked to you in victory lane at Talladega. You said, I want to treat this race as a must win so that way I can go into the finale on defense. Mission accomplished here tonight, but we really didn't see you kind of step up into that must win mentality and get up to the front, stay at the front until the midway portion of the race. I kind of attributed it more to your aggressiveness on green flag pit stops that gained you that track position. Is that how you saw it as well?
Yeah, I mean, it was, business as always. I mean, yeah, basically just have patience on the track early. And then, yeah, that pit road entry is where I do my work. I work hard to get on and off really quick, and I can usually pick up a few positions there. So yeah, that worked out pretty good.
Yeah, it was. We talked about you all the time, just watching you cut through the field and positioning your car at the right moment. So take us through those last couple laps, because at the moment you made a move to go the outside or to the inside when you got clear, and then suddenly they all left you for the middle lane there. But that 3 wide, tell us just how exactly that third lane just really in a way screws over that middle line.
Yeah, I guess I want to start off thanking Rodney Sullins here. Man, that was a guy that made it happen. He had the opportunity to pass me there at the end. But yeah, as we came down for that last restart, I was outside of Tim. I know Tim and Chuck work really well together. I knew those two were going to be tough. I know Donnie works with them sometimes and Schilling. So I felt like the cards were stacked against me. And I felt like I could defend better from the bottom here. So on that restart, I just really wanted to clear the 088 and get down to the bottom. I had a great restart. I was able to stay door to door and hold them down there on the bottom. Uh, it didn't quite work out as well as I was hoped, but uh, it only took a couple laps and we were able to clear that bottom lane. And then, of course, I jumped down and I wanted to be down there, as you mentioned, that third lane. Whenever it comes, it stalls out that middle lane and the bottom lane prevails. So I felt like I could definitely control my own destiny a little better from down there. And of course, as soon as I jumped down, Tim and Chuck jumped straight up. So I'm just a sitting duck out there on the bottom. And I look in the mirror and I see my good buddy Rodney, him and Greg. I knew I was going to have pretty good help there. So they caught me, they pushed me. Um, and yeah, I just watched the replay. I hated to see what happened to Schilling there. I'm not exactly sure what all went down, but it looked like he lost control of his wheel or some sort of mechanical failure. And I really hate that for him. He had a great run going. But yeah, it's just the timing of the caution. The timing of the caution was key. Rodney, he had the opportunity to jump high on me. We could have raced it side by side to the finish. He chose to stick with me and push me. So, man, I really appreciate that, Rodney. I definitely plan to at least pay that forward at some point in the future.
I mentioned this last week. We've only run this type of playoff format one other previous season. That was, of course, last season. You won the championship there. So you kind of know the pressures and what goes into this two-race finale, if you will, in this final round. You got job done tonight with what you wanted to do. Get that win, play defense next week. So I know maybe you might not want to give away all of your secrets, but like, what is the general idea, the general strategy now that you're looking for heading into Talladega next week?
Honestly, it's just gonna be business as usual. I'm not gonna take it necessarily easy. I'm not gonna, ride in the back trying to avoid a wreck or anything. I feel like whenever you do things like that, you put yourself in a bad situation. So, yeah, we're gonna attack it just like we have all season. That's what put us in this position in the first place. And then maybe when it gets down to the last couple laps, I think I'm going to have like a 10 or 9 or 10 point buffer. I'm going to have that cushion. Maybe in the last couple laps, I won't be gunning for the win necessarily. I might be content just to push someone. It might be a good time to pay back a few favors.
One final question for you here, too. Something that we're going to be touching on, obviously, next week, the random draw for qualifying that's been happening all season. Here tonight, you and two others of the final four didn't even get qualified inside of the top 20. Was that something that had you a little bit worried before the green flag dropped? And now at the conclusion of this race, if you end up getting a low qualifying draw next week, does that maybe kind of change up your strategy just the least little bit in how quickly you move your way to the front?
Yeah, as a chaser, this lotto qualifying, I love it. I mean, I think it's great. I love, just how random that is. And it's luck of the draw for everybody, and as you said, I had two other chasers back there with me. Whenever I get positioned back there, it's not necessarily, the final nail in the coffin because I mean, I think if you would look at statistics, you'd probably find a lot of winners have came from last or close to last. So, um, and also by the lotto qualifying, the entire field's jumbled up, so you don't have guys that work together bunched together necessarily. So there's tons of opportunity to make moves. Now, having said that, like for the instance in this race, lap one, there was a guy didn't go. I'm not sure what happened, but the field was divided into two right out of the gate, and I seen everyone bunching up on the bottom. I put it up next to the wall, and I just held my breath. I was just hoping no one came up the track, and I got lucky. Those are the things that uh, I would fear the most starting in the back. But as long as there's not a wreck, it's equal opportunity for everyone.
Well, you've definitely thrown down the gauntlet here with this victory tonight. Be interesting to see how the other three competitors answer next week. Obviously, we know you're going to be playing as much defense as possible, probably doing the calculations in your head of your gap between you and the others that are battling for this trophy. But Grant, we're going to let you get back to your celebrating here tonight. Before we do, though, we're handing the microphone over to you for some victory lane. Thank you, sponsors, and shout outs.
Yeah, don't count Schilling out. I know he had a bad finish here, but he's one of the best, and anything can happen at Talladega. And Bob and Jeremy, they're not far behind me, so I'm not really, like it's in the bag. Nothing like that. It's definitely going to be a hard fought race next week. So yeah, I just want to give a shout out to all the guys that make this place so great. My fellow competitors. Thanks for the hard race, and I'd like to thank the admins here, Josh, Wiley, and Tim, FRN, Mike, and Seth. Man, you guys are awesome. Can't wait to watch this back. I enjoy watching the entire race start to finish. You guys have a lot of good things to say. I'd like to thank my teammates with XFM, my friends and family for watching, and my girlfriend Brittany.
Grant Wesley, back-to-back victories here in the playoffs, third win on the season, and leading the points heading into the season finale next week at Talladega, looking for his third championship in 4 seasons. Congratulations on the victory tonight, Grant. Best of luck next week as you look to close it out here in season 59.
Hey, thanks, guys.
And that is going to bring our coverage to a close here this evening. The points are in. Again, as we mentioned, it's not a win and you're in type situation. Grant gets the max points, obviously, with getting the checkered flag tonight. But the other three still in the hunt. 10 points back, Jeremy Jeffries. 12 points back, Bob Seminara. And Brian Schilling, 30 points back right now in that 4th position after that incident on what was theoretically the last lap, coming to the race-ending caution. I think right now, we heard from Grant, don't count out Brian. I think the thing for Brian Schilling right now that he's going to need is he's going to need a pretty large car count, have a lot of points on the table in next week's finale.
Absolutely. So, I mean, Seth, if you could do quick math here, what's the lowest you think Grant can finish next week?
Lowest that Grant could finish next week, and this is not counting bonus points for laps led or most laps led. If he finishes inside of the top 10, he's got the championship locked up. That if he finishes 11th or lower, that opens up the door for Jeremy Jeffries. If he finishes his 13th or lower, that opens up the door for Bob Seminara. So really, if Grant can if he can even get himself maybe a lap led and just ride around in the top 10, I don't think that there's anything that Jeremy Jeffries or Bob Seminara can do outside of winning the race to be able to take the championship from Grant Wesley. But it's easier said than done.
So do you really think Grant would just ride?
See, that's the thing, because he just said that, when he rides is when usually that's when you run into trouble. He likes to be the aggressor. And I've seen this, and I found this in myself in the past too. If you end up making a move scared, you're going to be more likely to make a mistake. If you have confidence, if you have an aggression level when you make a move, more often than not, it either it'll work or it won't work, but you're normally not going to wreck yourself or somebody in the process. So,
Seth, I've been on the racetrack with you when you've made moves like that. I'm scared of the moves you make.
I mean, that's fair enough. But have I wrecked you though?
Yes, you have.
You didn't have to say that publicly. You could have tried to at least help me have my moment. Anyway, but back to the point there of riding for Grant Wesley. Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Obviously, I think that we saw here tonight. He was able to find some teammates and some allies with which to work with. He'll probably look for them next week, try and run around in their area. But we say it every time we come to a super speedway. It is a moving game of mental chess at over 190 miles per hour. Anything can happen. Be sure you folks tune in next week, because Grant Wesley right now, he is the favorite. He is the guy to beat. But 2-3 laps in to next week's race at Talladega, that landscape could completely change. And we're going to be bringing you coverage of that season finale next week, next Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You are not going to want to miss it. But Michael, wild one here tonight. We knew this racetrack was going to set the table for the scenario with the championship hanging in the balance. I said I didn't think that the odds were in favor of one of our final four going to victory lane. Grant Wesley disproving that theory. They're all going to be chasing him next week. Should be a wild one. I appreciate you joining me up in the booth here for this one tonight, though.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun to be here. Can't wait for next week.
Absolutely. Thanks to everybody that tuned into our coverage here this evening. Hope that you guys enjoyed it. Again, next Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, championship is decided. And oh, by the way, we've got a trifecta of RTG broadcasts coming to you next week, as we're also going to be bringing you the coverage of two other season finales. The previous night from next week, Wednesday night, we're going to be crowning the Aero 88 Series champion. And then, if I remember correctly, I'm going to double check to make sure that I am correct in this. Yes, Tuesday, the 8th, we're going to be bringing you coverage of the season finale for the Super Speedway Series. Rodney Sullins, I know, is leading the championship points in that one currently. I'm not certain. I think it might be Jeff Supta, but I'm not 100% certain who is leading the points in the Aero 88 Series. But we're crowning not just one, but three champions next week in RTG here on FRN. Be sure you tune in for those. But until then, for Michael Norman, I'm Seth Cole. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday night, folks, as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.